Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
What the city is talking about.
The news that impacts you.
Welcome to the Montreal Now podcast.
We are joined in studio by Mélanie Joly. Big announcement, of course, in Montreal earlier today. You're going to hear some of that, I guess, through the course of the afternoon on our news. Mélanie Joly, Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry, Liberal MP, of course, for Ahuntsic-Cartierville. Thank you for coming in.
It's a pleasure, Aaron.
It's twice like in the same year, which is great.
Oh,
I'm
in
kidding.
3 months.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So you were part of this announcement today. It's a pretty big deal, $6.5 billion. Here's a little clip of part of what the Prime Minister had to say in answer to a question about this.
In a world where the multilateral system is being undermined, this is variable geometry. You start to put together blocks of like-minded countries on different issues. Canada can play a role there. We're one of the countries playing a role, and we'll continue those discussions going forward. Thank you.
So that's an answer to a question about this deal, which is announced, which basically broadens out, I guess is a good word to use, Canada's military spending, defense spending. So can you just kind of qualify what that means?
Okay, so it's a major investment. I know that people will think, oh my God, this is mind-boggling. It's $500 billion of investment in defense by 2035. Why are we doing this? Couple of reasons. Of course, all NATO countries have to get to 2%.
Right.
And we all agreed as NATO countries that we would get also to 5% by 2035, which includes infrastructure and funding. But fundamentally, Aaron, why are we doing this? Because we are in a much more chaotic and dangerous world. We cannot take the protection of our people, of our sovereignty for granted. We need to stop being over-reliant on the U.S. We need to be able to protect and take care of our own. So based on that, what do we do? Do we basically continue to not invest in our Canadian companies, in our workers? Or do we, at a time where we're in a trade war, we protect the jobs in the steel, and aluminum and auto sectors, but also we invest the defense money or defense investments in Canadian companies. And that's exactly what it is about. It's about the creation of 125,000 jobs, which will have an impact, obviously, across Canada and across here in Montreal.
So that gives these Canadian companies that do business here a chance to do business with, and obviously the U.S. is our biggest partner, even in something like this, right?
Well,
in military and defense spending?
It is actually about, CAE, Bombardier, Canadian companies getting contracts from our Canadian forces. If you look at the entire investments in the entire contracts given by our defense sector, by our Canadian armed forces right now, we're at 42% of Canadian companies winning these contracts. Our goal is to get to 70%. Our goal is really to make sure that while we will indeed support our Canadian forces, our strong men and women, protecting us and keeping the world, a better place, we need to make sure that here Canadian companies, big and small, are able to have access to contracts. And, coming from the business sector before being in politics, what I know is companies rather have a contract from the government than subsidies. Why? Because it brings predictability. You know that you're able to invest in your company for the 5 or 10 next years. You can, hire more people. You can develop more IP, so intellectual property. You can take risks. You can do joint ventures with other companies.
Sure.
You can export, etc. So that's the goal.
It's strange, though, to hear, though, and I think I wonder if people react the same way. You would think that in the past, you mentioned 42%, we want to get to 70%, which makes perfect sense. Canadian companies should be doing business with Canadian, military. How did we get here? I mean, we never noticed this before. It took Donald Trump to wake us up to this and say, you know what? We can't rely on the U.S. anymore.
We never had a defense industrial strategy. We never did. It's the first time in our history. But it's coming at a time where we will be investing $16.5 billion per year just over the next 5 years. That's 3 times 3 times the national daycare program. That's a lot of money. So we will do that to create jobs here at home. And we have this industrial capability. Like, I was reading recently about everything we did during the Second World War just to, how many planes we were building, how many light army vehicles we were building, how many tanks we were building. We did that. And when you look at the history even of, Ville Saint-Laurent, TMR, not TMR, sorry. Ville Saint-Laurent, basically Saint-Laurent City.
The town of Saint-Laurent, the village.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
It is all linked to aerospace. Vickers, which was before
Canadair,
Canadair,
right. Okay.
1942, eventually bought by Bombardier in 1986. This was all done in Montreal, in Ville Saint-Laurent. And then afterwards, CAE was created in 1947 to train the Canadian Armed Forces, but eventually also the world in Ville Saint-Laurent. This all came out because we made major investments.
Sure. We were in a war. We didn't have a choice, right? We had to do what we had to do.
And then afterwards, it was the beginning of the Cold War. And, so we continued to make these investments. But we never had a real, industrial policy linked to defense per se.
Which seems rather bizarre, but I understand that. So now we're doing it. Okay.
Exactly.
I think one of the other questions, if I heard that came up in the press conference today, was how much of this is just pushback against the U.S., and how much of this is broadening out the relationship we have with other countries? Because this is not just about the Eurozone. It's about Indo-Pacific countries as well. This is pretty wide-ranging. It is.
Well, first and foremost, it is about taking care of us. Taking care of our own, really being able to protect ourselves, and not to be indeed in a position of vulnerability, of dependency, but to be in a position of strength. So that's first. Second, as all NATO countries are investing more, we need to be able to export. And we now have this partnership with the EU. We're the only non-European country that is able to have access to procurement in defense by European countries. And at the same time, we're working a lot with Japan, with Korea, with other countries in the Indo-Pacific. So our companies are already exporting, but we need to make sure that they are able to export even more, as indeed defense spending is increasing.
So this is obviously, it seems to me, again, sort of a spin-off, if you will, of what we found out in Davos when Mark Carney said, there's a new world order now. This is part of it. We're expanding. We're going to try to do business with as many countries as we possibly can. But then the question comes up, does that mean every country? What about the ones who are not necessarily democracies that we're dealing with? How is that going to work? Will that matter?
Our position on protection of human rights has not changed. It won't change. And so there will be, obviously, and there is right now, a policy on export permits. But where the big investments are happening in defense are actually right now in our allied countries. It is within the EU and NATO countries. It is actually Japan and Korea. That's what we're targeting for sure. And I think because of the Davos speech, but just kind of positioning a reputation, I think there's a lot of goodwill and good brand recognition for our companies.
You're having talks directly. You're the minister here, and as far as the industry is concerned, what's the reaction you're getting from countries we typically didn't necessarily do business with? Are they open? Are they welcoming? What's the reaction?
I think following the Davos speech, it's much more, okay, fundamentally, what do we do now? And Katherine, my good friend and colleague from Germany, my counterpart in Germany, was in town last week. I'm heading to Germany in the next couple of days. It is, concretely speaking, how can we have our industrial base connected? Together. How can we have German companies and Canadian companies working together? So that's the next step. The Davos speech was about bringing middle powers together to counter political hegemony, hyperscalers, so basically the power of tech giants, and also American protectionism. When you think about it, that's the essence of the speech. Now it's much more, okay, concretely, what do we do? Yes, on trade, we have free trade agreements. We're working to build a bridge between the European countries and also Asian countries on the trade side. But we want to do that on the security side as well. We want to be able also to do that on on the industrial side, so on businesses side, but also in the defense sector. So it's all that vision that is being put into place.
I would ask, because clearly one of the questions will be, are we concerned here? You know, it doesn't take much to set off Donald Trump these days. So first of all, we have a trade deal with China. They're going to steal our whatever. Now it's, here's a deal with the rest of the world. Is there concern here? Because I know the question of the Golden Dome came up today as well. Is that part of this? Are we in this? Are we not in this? Did the Prime Minister say?
We have a partnership with the U.S. and, you know, we're part of NATO, we're part of NORAD, and we'll continue. But also we know that we need to take care of our own sovereignty. We need to do our work. We need to do more. And this is about not only doing more, but how we will do more and what will be the benefits to Canadians while we're investing more. And, well, you know, we're being smart about it. We'll create jobs doing it.
Did you hear what Pierre Poilievre had to say today about this?
And unfortunately, I didn't.
You did not, or you did?
I did not. I've been busy.
He called the announcement a salad bowl of buzzwords.
Because he didn't read it.
That's it?
Because
there's a lot going on in this announcement today, right?
Well, not only that. It's not a credible... how can I say?
Criticism?
A criticism.
Yeah. Okay.
It is not, because you can't say that when nearly everybody in the industry is in favor of it. So is he saying that all the exporters and all the people working in the aerospace sector and all those working in the auto sector, the steel sector, the aluminum sector, all the big businesses, the smaller ones, the chambers of commerce across the country, our military, everybody is wrong?
Okay. I will leave it at that.
I'll leave it at
there's a lot,
too.
by the way. There's a lot in here. Do we have that clip from the Prime Minister on the Golden Dome? You were there at the announcement this morning, right? And the question did come up because, as I said, people are going to wonder, will the U.S. be somehow, I hate to use the word, offended by this, because we're actually looking to do business with other people. Here's what he said when asked.
If it's in the right interests of Canada, and I think there are certainly many scenarios where it will be in the right interests of Canada, we will be a willing participant. Does it include Greenland? I mean, it's a technical issue. To be honest, I haven't focused on that aspect of it specifically because our concern has been the protection of Canada.
So if it works for us, we're in. That's kind of what he's saying there, right? As long as there's something in it for Canadians, we're in.
Well, that's the goal of the government. We're always there to protect Canadians and protect our sovereignty. So we'll continue to have these conversations. They're super important, and that's up to the Prime Minister and the President to have these conversations. What I'm saying to those listening to us right now, if you're working at CAE, you not only have a good job, you'll have a good job for a long time. If you're working at Bombardier, not only do you have a good job, you'll have a good job for a long run. But also if you're working for companies that have CAE and Bombardier as clients, or if you're a researcher working in the university right now in Montreal, or if you're working in AI, or you're working at Pratt & Whitney, you all know that you're in a good position. Because it's not only a job that you'll be offered, it's a career. And then that's going to be good also for your kids. So what I will bring to the table today is there are lots of things in the world, Aaron, we can't control. We can't control the President of the United States. We can't control a lot of the geopolitics. But what we can control is what we do with our money and how we invest in our people. And that's what we're doing today.
How much money, this announcement, over 10 years?
Well, by 2035, it's $500 billion. So it's a lot of money, but that will have an impact on jobs and that will have an impact on infrastructure across the country.
Look, it's good news, as you said, for anybody in any of these industries, obviously, to know that we're looking to expand, give them a chance to grow their business for years on end, not just short term. So I think most people appreciate that as well. I thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. And we'll send that to Pierre Poilievre.
Okay. You go ahead and do that.
Yeah, no problem. I'll do so.
Do you have a message for our Canadian Olympic athletes? We won another gold medal today.
I'm so proud.
Been watching?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I've been, and the team and I have been sharing on social media. And I'm really, really hope that we get to 20 medals. I really hope so. We have a good team.
Yeah, our best is 26, I think, right ever at a Winter Olympics.
Yeah, we'll be close. This is the week. This is the week where I know we'll be winning more. But today, a gold medal.
Yeah.
And the Michael Kinsbury gold medal also was really nice.
Pretty impressive stuff.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's always great to see you, and I do appreciate you
It's
coming
always
in.
a pleasure
Thank you.
to be here and
Take
to
good
be
care.
in.
Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue Attraction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
Bloom Apartments brings you an exceptional offer. For a limited time, get 2 months free, plus their unique all-inclusive package. Not bad for finding your secret garden in the heart of Gatineau. Visit bloomapartments.com.
Bringing you the breaking news and the people making it. Montreal Now with Aaron Rand. CJAD 800.
All right, I want to weigh in on this story. I'm just reading the piece. It's called Eating a Meal with Your Kids is More Important Than You Think. Now, that kind of advice, or that suggestion anyway, is something that I think, I don't know, we used to consider being important many, many years ago. But then, of course, everybody gets busy. You have parents who are both working, and it seems like it's kind of fallen off a little bit. And our next guest, Katherine Martinko, says, you know what? We ought not to be ignoring that as a parent. It's important. In fact, it's really important, more important than you think. And she is on the line. Katherine, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Let me begin by going to this part. I mean, some of the things in here seem kind of obvious, but again, as I said, maybe over the years we've tended to forget these things. You write, whether the meal is simple or fancy, whether we have 10 minutes or an hour, it is the act of sharing a meal that should be non-negotiable. Why?
Yeah, well, I think that the benefits of mealtime are incredibly important for kids. There's a wonderful website called the Family Dinner Project that outlines all of the benefits. You have lower rates of depression and anxiety and substance abuse and eating disorders and obesity and tobacco use, higher rates of resilience and self-esteem in a lot of teenagers. Preschoolers learn more words and are more conversant if they're able to spend time sitting at a table with their parents. It's a chance for kids to feel like they matter to their parents, that they're being paid attention to, getting the full gift of their parents' attention for the duration of the meal. So, yeah, I mean, the evidence is there. Like you said, we've known for decades that this is something that's really profound and formative for our children, but we do get lost in our busy schedules. And that's what I wanted to emphasize in my article, that it's okay if you can't sit down and have a multi-course fancy dinner. Really, any amount of time is beneficial for your kids.
Yeah, that's kind of stark, isn't it? 10 minutes or an hour doesn't matter. It's just the idea of actually spending the time and doing it. So that's number one, because we're all busy. And then you're right, and this was interesting to me. Now, I imagine if your children are younger, this would be something that's, I guess not that hard to do. But you write 80, this completely floored me, 80% of teens say they would rather eat with their parents than alone in front of a screen or even with their peers.
I know. I found that statistic really amazing. And I think it just speaks to the fact that a lot of teenagers are feeling isolated from their parents with the proliferation of screens. And whether it's the teens that are watching the screens or whether it's the parents who are looking at their phones and the teens are just waiting for their parents to look up and pay attention to them, I think it certainly is a bit of a problem. And I think that, in our day-to-day lives, yes, we have schoolwork, we have our jobs, you have so many scheduling things and calls coming in and texts that need to be answered. So all of that dominates so much of our days. But if we can just reclaim a tiny sliver of every single day, it doesn't even have to be 3 meals a day. It can only be 1 meal a day for that matter. If we can reclaim that time and sit down with our teenagers who still desperately need us, just as much as they did when they were little, I think that it can add a lot of value to the quality of the family life.
When I said off the top and you acknowledged about, we've known this for a long time, but of course life gets in the way. You also had I was stunned to see this statistic as well. Only 30% of families say they have dinner together on a nightly basis.
I know. I think that all too often we consider dinner to just be about caloric intake. It's just the raw necessity of needing to consume food, and people might, someone in the family prepares food or orders food in and sets it out, and then the family members just grab it and eat it when they're on the run, dashing between various extracurriculars and things that we have to do. And that is the reality for many families. But I think that that's unfortunate. We do need to carve out those chances. And I mean, I have 3 kids of my own. 2 of them are teenagers. I have a slightly younger one too. And even tonight, I knew I had this interview. I have to get one kid to an extracurricular activity at 6:15. So I assessed kind of my window of opportunity to try to make sure that I got dinner started so I could stick it in the oven, and it's cooking right now as I talk to you, so that we'll be able to eat it after.
I would ask another question based on what you suggest here. Maybe this is hard for some parents as well when you decide to go ahead and do this on a regular basis. You're right, there are some great ways to stimulate conversation around the table. Okay, how?
Yeah, well, we play lots of fun games around the table. So it's a way just to engage your kids. So one game that my kids love is called Rose, Bud, Thorn. So everyone takes turns going around the table to say what the rose is in their day, which is something wonderful. The bud is something they're looking forward to, and the thorn was a challenge or, some difficulty that they encountered. So it's a way to kickstart conversation with kids, and by the time everyone's gone around the table, guaranteed the conversation is flowing very easily. And what's cute is when we have guests over, they love it. Even my kids' friends now ask to play that game at the table because they enjoy it so much.
Yeah, you also point out here, and this is interesting because, it's one thing to say these things kind of make sense, but there's actual data to suggest, I think you mentioned this off the top, but with respect to spending the time talking at the table with kids, and it's pointed out that kids whose parents engage them in conversation about books, movies, politics, actually scored better on reading tests.
Yeah, I think that kids learn a lot of stuff in school, but it's within the context of that classroom, and you need to create consciously these opportunities for kids to absorb and process a lot of that information in the real world. And I think the dinner table is a prime place to do that. Parents can talk through the things that their kids are seeing or overhearing in the news. Kids are very savvy. They're picking up on these keywords and these notions and, whatever stories are trending. And it's really important to debrief with your kids. And the table just becomes this go-to place that families can rely on every single night to talk about those issues. So
you said you have 3 kids. Did you go through a phase with your kids, if you don't mind me asking? Did you go through the 6-7 phase with your kids?
Of course.
You did, okay.
I think every family in Canada has, for the most part.
How about chicken banana? Are they doing that yet?
No, but we're not going to tell them about that.
That's next. I would ask, though, when you're doing this, and obviously you practice what you preach, how difficult was it at the beginning, or have you always done this? Have you always realized it's an important time to spend with children and kind of went ahead and just did it?
I would say I'm fortunate in that I've always sort of done it because my parents did it with me. It's how I grew up. Okay. And also I love to eat. So with food being sort of at the forefront of my mind from the beginning of the day till the end of the day, mealtime is important because I do want to sit down and have a good meal. I live in a really small town in the middle of nowhere, so if I'm going to eat well, I'm going to have to make it myself. So that does require a fair bit of forethought. But for listeners, I want to emphasize, like I said before, you don't have to be a gourmet cook. You don't have to, allocate 2 hours of every single day to make this food. It can be very simple because, like I said, the kids are not going to remember the meal so much as they're going to remember the feeling of sitting around that table with their parents, giving them their full attention for however long you're there. I think that's the real lasting gift that we give our children.
And can I just ask finally, did you do the whole thing about, you have teenage kids, they're on their phone all the time. Do you make that part of the process where, we're having dinner, put your phone down or put your phone on the plate in the middle of the table? How did you get that done?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another conversation. I'm the author of a book called Childhood Unplugged, so my kids actually haven't had smartphones. My oldest is 16. He just got his first phone a couple of weeks ago. So he, of course, does not bring that to the table, but it largely hasn't been an issue because we are digital minimalists in the home, which certainly helps.
By design.
Yes, yeah. It's conducive to conversation and focus and it makes life a lot better and a lot easier, I think, in many ways, because then I'm not having that fight on a regular basis. Well, I certainly don't bring my own phone anywhere near the dinner table.
Which my question would be, now that you've said that, was how hard was that to implement? You have a 16-year-old. I mean, we have kids that 9, 10, 11 now wanting phones. How hard was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the topic of my book largely, so I do encourage you to check that out. But it's a lifestyle choice. Again, it's something that we've sort of always done from the very beginning. We have workarounds in the home, a landline. The kids can text their friends from a desktop computer. They can use my phone if they need to. So certainly I haven't been trying to impede their ability to communicate with their friends, give them lots of freedom in the real world to sort of compensate for the lack of the digital-based entertainment. But yeah, it's worked out pretty well. It's an ongoing challenge. I don't find it to be easy, I would say, but I think it's really important for us to be taking a stand as parents against the technological takeover of our kids' lives and just strive to have a bit of a healthier balance.
Okay. I will mention then, because the book, for those parents wondering how to go ahead and sort of take some of this advice, the book is called Childhood Unplugged, Practical Advice to Get Kids Off Screens and Find Balance, right?
Yes, that's it.
You
And
can
then I
find
would also encourage you to check out my Substack newsletter, which is The Analog Family, and I write a lot about things sort of like this article in the Globe and Mail about prioritizing family dinners and how to go about fixing our analog lives to make it easier to get off of our devices.
All right. And that's The Analog Life.
The Analog Family.
The Analog Family, sorry. And you'll find that on Substack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Katherine, I thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
The very latest news, reported and discussed. Welcome back to Montreal Now on CJAD 800.
As we all pay attention and root for Canada in the Winter Olympics, there's a wonderful story. I actually laughed out loud when I saw some of the videos. Our next guest, Simona Stallone, is a Canadian content creator, and she is behind something called the Out of Shape Olympics. Now, when I first heard about what this was, I thought, well, what does that mean exactly? And I don't understand how that would work. And what Simona Stallone has managed to do is, I think, take what every Canadian has ever wondered about maybe, hey, how would I do in the Olympics? Only I have absolutely no experience in the particular discipline that I want to be in. I'd just be curious to see how I would do. And that's exactly what she has done. And she is on the line. Simona, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I said to you before we started, I love what you're doing. I think this is great. You're framing it the Out of Shape Olympics. First of all, explain what it is and then where you got the idea to do this from.
Yeah, so the Out of Shape Olympics is basically, again, like you mentioned, just answering the question of how would an average, regular, out-of-shape person do if they were just plopped into the Olympics. It really is a play on the whole theory or question of how funny would it be if we just picked Olympic athletes like jury duty, and now you are representing your country in luge, and that's just so silly. And it kind of started in a silly way too. My partner and I were sitting and having dinner. This was back in 2024, right before the Paris Games started. And we were talking about this exact same conversation, how it would be so funny. Why don't the Olympics add an average Joe category, so to speak? And he just said, well, why don't you just do it? And I was like, okay, why don't I just do it? So we started planning and filming almost immediately after that. And the Paris Games, the 2024, was the Summer Olympics. That was the first time we did it. We probably did 31 events. It was wild. So it's kind of a no-brainer to bring it back for the Winter Games.
First of all, I had no idea you had done this in 2024. I'm only finding about this as I think a lot of people are now. How did you get people to actually, I know you've done stuff like in Olympic-sized pools. Did you have any pushback from people saying, what are you doing? This is silly?
I don't think any pushback. I think everybody who I tell about this is super receptive. Everybody, they're very encouraging. I'm very lucky to say I haven't had any pushback. For the Summer Olympics, it was a lot easier to film. It was just myself, my partner. We had him filming and a tripod, and that was really all we needed.
Right.
And then the drone, but we didn't need any extra people. However, for the Winter Olympics, we've definitely had to rely on a lot more people. We've definitely had to use a lot more friends and family and strangers to get this stuff done, get it filmed. But I will say every single time, 100%, the reception has been very positive.
That's great. I saw one video going back to the Summer Games. Did you do the 20-kilometer speed walk? Did you try that?
I did. The 20-kilometer speed
How'd
walk.
that go?
That one went super well. So I like to walk normally. I live downtown Toronto, so I'm a walker. I go everywhere. I thought I was going to absolutely crush it. No, they're basically doing a marathon. It's just walking kind of silly. No offense to speed walkers, but my partner was on a bike in front of me just filming it. I really did do the whole thing. I try and make everything as accurate as possible, so I did do the full 20 kilometers. My partner's on the bike in front of me basically saying, hurry up, the shot's not good. You have to get up here a little bit more. And I'm like, what the heck do you mean? It's kilometer 16. I can't go any faster than this. So, yeah, we do it all.
Okay, and then at the end of this all, the best part is you compare your time to finish an event, an actual Olympic event, to the worst performer in the actual Olympics. Not the best, but the worst. And how do you do?
Yeah, so we try and do a little bit of a highlight. It is for poking fun in terms of look how terrible the average person actually does, or look how poorly I did in this situation. But really it is to also highlight not only the people who come in first, which I also do mention, but the people who come in last. It is an amazing feat just to get to the Olympics, and it's very simple to judge someone who came in last place, but that person is the best person in their entire country. there is so much that goes into getting to that level that I do think that person needs to be highlighted as well.
It's funny, when I saw these and then started reading about your story, I thought to myself, you know what, this is something, and I bet you're not alone, and I wonder if you heard this from people who've commented on your videos, that other people might like to try just to see sort of where you fit in. Now, you're not necessarily an athlete or athletic. You're just kind of an average Joe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Sorry, go ahead.
No. So you've decided to go ahead and do these. Did you think going in that you would do a lot better or at least finish a lot closer than you actually did in any of these events?
Oh, yeah. It depends on the sport, but there are some that I went in like full delusion that I was like, oh, this is mine. Like, I'm the winner here. Like, for example, I just did speed skating, and I grew up figure skating. I still recreationally skate. I can go pretty fast. Like, I'm like a good skater. So I was like, ooh, this is it. This is the one where I'm going to like make it close or close enough.
Okay.
Joke was on me. Speed skating is completely different than regular skating. So that was a whole new learning curve of learning how to use the skates. And other than that, it's just like I guess a surprising one I didn't think I was going to be as good at, but I was actually, I will say, okay at very lately, was skeleton. I did the skeleton. I was pretty good. At that the first time. So that was another surprising one too.
So where'd you find a skeleton track?
Yeah. So I commit to the bit. I'm a content creator. Like this is my job. So we called it a work trip, and I flew from Toronto out to Vancouver, BC. From Vancouver, we drove out to Whistler, and we went to the Whistler Olympic Park, specifically the Whistler Sliding Center, and we used their track, the same one they used in Vancouver 2010.
And were you not scared out of your mind? You're lying face down, going at 40, 50 kilometers an hour. Were you not at all scared doing this?
Oh, I was definitely scared. And sorry to correct you a little bit, I was going 96.2 kilometers an hour. Yeah, they give you your time.
Wow.
I was terrified, but the first time I go down, I kind of go into like a show mode. Like it's like the cameras are on, I have to perform. There's no time to be scared. So I went down the first time. They send you down twice. Just because they're like, the first time you're going to kind of black out, but the second time you'll have fun. So the first time I went down, I was fully ready. I was taking in all the tips the instructor gave us, which is basically to do nothing, to act like a sack of potatoes, and you will do as well as possible. And I was so relaxed, again, loosely, but it was so scary. But I did super well the first time. I went down, and it was so great. My time was the best out of everybody that went. I think there was 20 of us. But the second time around, that time I knew what to expect, and that time I was scared. That was a lot.
I would ask, after having done all of this, maybe it's a dumb question, but has it made you think that, you know what, you're only 27, I think, right? So you're young.
I just turned 29. Yeah.
29, okay. Would you think maybe to actually try to get involved in any Olympic sport and think that you might be able to compete?
So, delusionally, yes. Like, I do want to. I'm like constantly Googling like easiest sport to qualify for the Olympics for, and trying to see what I could do to get in for that. But I just feel like that would be, again, I'm an actress. I'm a showman. So I think it's really funny if I will call it season 3 of Out of Shape Olympics. Wouldn't it be really funny if I trained really hard and tried to qualify for one? So that might be where the series is going. Who knows? I will try to do something, or at least I will try to get better. So we'll have some comparisons moving forward. But
the great part about doing that, just from personal experience, I thought many years ago, I was speed walking. I thought I was pretty good at it, right? I was flying at the gym. People were looking at you and thinking, wow, you should consider whatever. So I went and looked at the Canadian standard for actually qualifying, right, for the Olympics. And I was like 2 minutes off over like 1,000 meters. And I realized, okay, perhaps not. Have you actually looked? You can compare like what the standards are for different disciplines. Have you actually gone to that length?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I haven't, because in my brain I was like, I'll just do it. That's how I think that's pretty accurate to how the entire series works, of me just saying, I'll just do it.
Right.
But the second I will, that's when the delusional dream will end. So we're going to ride out that wave a little longer.
How have you not found a corporate sponsor yet?
Oh, I would love to get one. I would love it. If anybody would love to sponsor me, please go for it. But yeah, I'm still waiting. Right now, the whole thing is funded by myself and my partner.
Okay.
We work together. But I will say a lot of the events we got this time were given to us for free from some of these partnerships that we did in exchange for like making videos and doing promotion. But again, The Out of Shape Olympics is a self-funded passion project.
Look, we have to wrap up. For people who want to see this, where do they go? Where do you send them online?
Yep. So you can check it out on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, or TikTok. My username is The Other Stallone, like Sylvester Stallone, because that's my last name, The Other Stallone. Or if you just type in Out of Shape Olympics, it should come up.
I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing, and thank you for the laughs. It's been a lot of fun watching you, too. You're not giving up yet. Is there more to come?
Oh, there's so much more to
good.
come.
Okay.
I'm going to fit so much in the next couple of days.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the time, Simona. Really appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick Split 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
Bloom Apartments brings you an exceptional offer. For a limited time, get 2 months free, plus their unique all-inclusive package. Not bad for finding your secret garden in the heart of Gatineau. Visit bloomapartments.com.
Because you don't want to miss a thing. Montreal Now on CJAD 800.
Montreal Mayor Soraya Martinez Ferrada marks 100 days in office today, February 20th, since being elected and taking over as Montreal's new mayor. She is on the phone. Madam Mayor, thanks so much for being here.
Hello.
Look, I don't even really know where to start. We've had a chance to speak a few times. I want to get to what I just heard on the news, and I know that part of what you talked about before you became elected was homelessness. It was an important issue to you. You're making strides. I want to understand the announcement today because from what I just heard in the clip we played, you're suggesting that the boroughs have to get more involved in this. What do you mean exactly? How would it work?
Well, first of all, we need to have a protocol of encampment that will give the sentiment to neighbors of encampments that we're also taking care of the cohabitation and security that they feel right now that in some areas they don't have. And to do that, we also have to make sure that we are offering services, emergency services in every borough. Like the social net that we give to homeless people has to be in every borough and neighborhood of our city. The protocol encampment will give us some guidelines. Of course, it is something that will evolve, that we'll see how we can make it operational. And of course, we'll have to make sure that make the adjustments when there will be necessary.
Okay, I want to get to the protocol. So I understand in Longueuil, where Catherine Fournier is the mayor, they've laid out a pretty detailed protocol. Are we going to follow that path? What's the plan for Montreal?
Well, we have to get to a point where we'll be more details around the tolerance zones, where they're not allowed, and of course, that's where we're going to get to. But you know that the city of Montreal is governed by 19 boroughs. We, work with the boroughs in terms of collaborating on that. We share the protocol to the boroughs' mayors, and many of them gave us their comments. So it's something that will be evolving, and we have to do it together. City of Longueuil and Montreal are governed very differently. Our cities are different. We are very inspired of what they've done in Longueuil, and that's why, we made a joint announcement because we collaborated with them in terms of what they have done in the past almost 2 years. Now we have to do the same. We have to do a protocol that will be good for the city of Montreal, and for that, we have to do it one step at a time. But it was necessary to announce a new way of doing things in terms of homelessness.
Okay,
today.
I'm going to move on, but I want to ask one other thing just to follow up. So yes, there are 19 boroughs to have to contend with here. You've had discussions with some of the boroughs, mayors, councils. Is there hesitancy from them in getting this done?
No, there isn't. There's a lot of questions, and I understand the questions around if you have a protocol and you saying, for instance, that you want to pick up the garbage, who's going to pay for that? So we need to make sure that eventually the budget that will support the protocol in terms of operating the protocol in all neighborhoods, will be there to support the money that it will be needed to be done. So that's an example. So that's why, we have to take it one step at a time. But what we did today, it's unprecedented for a city the size of Montreal. and it's very important to, and it's one piece of the whole toolbox that we have put in place for homelessness. I mean, we've put more money. We've created a matching fund with the private sector. We have now a protocol. We have a tactical unit that we put in place to be more agile in terms of decisions. We're, working on transition homes. So we have done a lot in 100 days that honestly, for me, feels more like 6 months. But we have done a lot. And I think the protocol today, for me, was very symbolic to do it on the 100 days to set the tone in terms of what our priority will be as an administration is homelessness, getting the services that citizens need and respond to that, which is potholes, snow removal, garbage removal. Let's be efficient as a city. And to do that, we also need to make sure that we are treating with dignity the people that live on the street right now.
So, everyone's been talking about potholes. I'm sure that's something you could not have imagined that you'd be dealing with when you first took the job. I know you've gone out and got private contractors because, the particular requirements in that first tender were not met. How is that going?
It's going well. I mean, a few of them have started. If you've been on Notre Dame Street today, you actually can see them at work. They are on Notre Dame Street today. As an example, we have given a lot of money not a lot of money, but we have given money to the boroughs in order to also have emergency assessments of the pothole that they need to work. Again, this is a shared responsibility with the boroughs. It's not only the city centre that works on that. And so we're partnering that. And I think the most important thing and the message that I would say to, Montrealers right now that are listening is that spring is coming and the worst is yet to come. And we have to make sure that we're ready for spring in order to fix the potholes that we'll have in the spring. There will be many of them.
And you're confident that we'll be ready?
Well, right now, the answer would be no. We need to make sure that we're going to be ready. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be prioritizing our administration in terms of working a plan for the spring, which is what we'll be start doing right away next week, because spring's coming really quickly and we need to be ready. But the issue is that, we don't have all the equipment that we need, and that takes time. And so that's why it's something that we're looking into right now.
I don't have a lot of time. I know you have to move on. Let me ask you a couple of really quick questions, like a lightning round, if you will, okay? You've been in there 100 days, first time as mayor. Biggest surprise so far for you?
Complication of governance in the city.
Meaning?
Meaning we have 19 boroughs, 19 mayors, 19 everything. We need to be working more collaboratively in order to give the same quality of service to all citizens. In every borough, they deserve to have the same quality of service. And I think we have right now, that's not what we have as a city.
So it's taking you longer because of the complications of the way the city runs.
It takes longer, and it's not the same. And a citizen that lives in Montreal North or in Saint Michel deserves to have the same service that somebody lives in a $2 million home in Outremont.
Okay.
And I think that's at the basic. There's an inequity in terms of citizens that we need to address. And I think for me, that's very important that we need to address that as the city of Montreal.
My next question was going to be biggest disappointment. I don't know if it's too early to ask that or not.
Well, biggest disappointment, I think, of course, again, if you have, a city that's complicated in terms of complex, more than complicated, complex in terms of governments, well, you want to go faster. And sometimes the rhythm at the ones that I want to go, it's not the one that the city is ready to do because many, many, many issues. But that would be my biggest disappointment coming from somebody that, want to get things done. Sometimes I have to respect that there's things that take time. Council, municipal council is once a month. So if I can be ready for the month, I have to wait another month. So that's one of the things that I think, in terms of wanting to be more efficient, it is something that we have to, we'll live with it.
What about negotiating, I guess, with a provincial government? How difficult is that, or how difficult is that? Did you think it would be this much?
No, I think we have a good conversation with the government of Quebec. What I've said this week at the CMM, which is I'm president of 82 municipalities as their representative, I think, I wish that the government of Quebec would be more collaborative in terms of sitting the cities at the table around issues that we share, and that we can actually be partners in order to fix issues more quickly. Because we coordinate them with the government of Quebec, and hopefully we'll get there. In some issues, we should hopefully get there.
Last thing, you also mentioned before you began, one of the things in your campaign when you talk about big city, making the administration smaller, right? And you've already said 1,000 jobs to be cut over 4 years. Yep. How's that going?
Well, we announced 250. We already cut 7 managerial positions at the high management of the city, which is the signal that we wanted to give to the administration that we need to lean more the city in order to be more agile and more efficient with, in terms of decision making. And I think that's what we started doing, and I think it was very clear that that's the path and the objective of our administration.
So already 250 the jobs cut over the ones you say you're going to cut over 4 years.
This year,
okay.
Yes.
Someone just texted in, can the mayor ask the mayor what she plans to do with illegal Airbnbs? Is that a provincial issue or a municipal issue?
It's both. It's both, because we need to make sure that we're working on making sure that in the city of Montreal, we can ban the commercial rents of Airbnbs and short-term leases. But don't, citizens, like people, have the right to rent their homes. It is, a source of revenue that could be interesting, and also a way of tourists to live in our city differently than being in hotels. But the most important thing is that we have to make sure that the commercial short-term leases go back to the market of housing, so we can address the issue of the housing crisis that we have right now.
Last question really quick. What's been the best part of the job so far?
Being a Montrealer, living in this city, and being mayor of a city that I love, I wake up every morning loving this job. I chose to come here, to come to the city and help, and that's what I'm determined to make a difference. And I'm very open to criticism. I'm not scared of that. I get it. This is what I've been in Montreal for the past 40 years. I know how it works, but Montrealers need to know that I'm determined to do the job, and I'll do to the best of my abilities, and to always make it better for us as citizens of the city.
Mayor, I always appreciate the time. I thank you so much, and congratulations, 100 days, and hope we get to speak soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
Take good care.
This has been the Montreal Now podcast.
Listen live on your radio weekday afternoons from 2 to 6
on CJAD 800
or through the iHeartRadio app.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years.
And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.